Hello everyone and welcome back to Phantom Sports Industries. My name is Joe Soisson. I'm a contributor for Phantom's hockey content. Today we're wrapping up preseason predictions. The Pacific Division is last on the docket. I know the regular season is underway by now, but I just wanted to have the complete set out there. So here we go. These are my preseason predictions for the Pacific Division in the NHL. Starting off at number 8, I put the San Jose Sharks. I really liked their offseason. Offensively, they added Tyler Toffoli, Alexander Wenberg, Ty Dellandrea. Now Barclay Goodrow is back. They added a couple others as well. Defensively, they brought in Cody Ceci, Lucas Carlson, Jake Wallman. But the story of the Sharks is their youth. With Logan Couture out on injury, guys like William Eklund and Fabian Zetterlund stepped up and put up good points last season, 44 and 45 respectively. And down the pipeline, there's a lot to be excited about for the Sharks. College stars like Macklin Celebrini, Colin Graff, Will Smith. Some of them are already seeing significant ice time. Henry Thurn played 51 games last season. Graff got 2 points in 7 games. But there are two concerns I have that could snowball for San Jose. First, the Sharks last year were number 1 in total shots against, so they gave up the most scoring chances in the league. Secondly, this goalie room is very unproven. Vitek Vanacek looks promising, but last year, his goals against average and save percentage were the worst of his career. And Mackenzie Blackwood went 10, 25, and 4 last season. They added Yaroslav Askarov, but he's only played in 3 NHL games. Georgi Romanov, he's only played in 2. Now I know they added a bunch of defensive skaters, but it feels like this group is asking a lot of their young, unproven goalies. Just above them at number 7, I've got the Calgary Flames. They've got a solid top 2 forward lines. Kadri, Sarangovic, Kuzmenko, Backlund, Coleman, Huberdeau. I mean, the low end of points there is Backlund with 39. And Kuzmenko missed 10 games. Coleman missed 4. But now you add Anthony Mantha to the lineup, and all of a sudden, line 3 looks pretty good, especially with Connor Zary having a great rookie season. And remember how they traded a bunch of defensemen last year? Well, despite that, the Flames still had a shockingly good penalty kill unit. They finished 9th in penalty kill percentage at the end of the regular season. But there are still question marks for me, the biggest of which is goaltender. It's a young and inexperienced goalie room between the 4 goalies on the roster. They only have 99 NHL games played, 101 if you count the 2 playoff games Dan Vladar has played in. And with all those defensive moves last year, outside of Uyghur and Anderson, they're going to have to try some different line combinations to figure out what works defensively. But once they figure that out, look out. Things could turn for this team very quickly. I just need to see it happen first. Number 6, I put the Anaheim Ducks. Last year, they finished 30th in both goals per game and goals against average. But Anaheim's defense got better, and a lot of the Ducks' forwards were uncharacteristically snake-bitten last year. Ryan Strome only had 11 goals. On the Rangers, he averaged almost 18 a year. Alex Killorn had 18 goals. Last 2 seasons in Tampa, he had over 25. Trevor Zegras got hurt, but even on his pace, he would have ended up behind the mark. The good news for Anaheim, they've got a lot of players who can step up. Leo Carlsson had a solid rookie season with 12 goals and 29 points. Frank Vetrano had his best season, team high and career high, 37 goals last year. And Cutter Gauthier is really good. He had a point in his only game last year, and you watch him in college on Team USA, he looks NHL ready. Combine that with the addition of Brian Dumoulin from Seattle and the rise of Pavel Mintyukov, I think they've got a lot of tools to help this team get back on track. One other note to watch, penalties. They were the bane of this team last year. Most penalty minutes in the league. If they cut down on those, they'll be in a lot more games this year. Now, I went back and forth on this team a lot, but I put the Vegas Golden Knights at number 5. This will be a very different team from previous seasons. You gotta realize, this is now year 8 of the franchise, so now things like scouting and team management start to become more prevalent. And it's going to be emphasized this year because of key departures. Marchessault, Martinez, Stevenson. How about Mantha, Carrier, and Amadio? Even their starting goalie, Logan Thompson, is gone. So they lost a lot of names this offseason. The good news is they still have everything they need from a roster perspective. Eichel and Carlson each put up 30 goals last year. Pair that with Hurdle and Stone coming back fully healthy, plus the additions of forwards like Alexander Holtz and Victor Olofsson. You're going to have 2 solid lines that can score points. Defensively, I like their skaters. Noah Hannafin had 13 goals in total last year. You've got Theodore, Pietrangelo, and McNabb. And I don't know if he'll start or not, but Aiden Hill is playing great in net. Wins the Stanley Cup 2 years ago, and last year put up a 2.71 goals against average with a 90.9 save percentage. And he's significantly better in the postseason. So Vegas will be good, but with all of these departures, I don't know if they are a playoff team this year or not. Next up, the surprise team from last year, I put the Vancouver Canucks at number 4. They made a lot of moves this offseason, but it was a lot of move off and replace. Elias Lindholm, gone. Bring in Jake DeBrusk. Zach Sawchenko and Sheldon Dries are out. Bring in Danton Heinen, Daniel Sprong, Kiefer Sherwood. And that's just forwards, which last year was the strength of this team, finished 6th in goals per game average. What I am concerned about is defense and goaltending. Ian Cole and Nikita Zadorov are gone. That's a lot of talent and experience out the door. So there's pressure now not only on the newcomers like Forbort and Vincent Desharnais, but also on the depth from last year. Carson Soucy only played in 40 games this year. Tyler Myers led the team in penalty minutes. Noah Juleson only had 7 points in 54 games. Plus, as much as I like Shilovs and Lankinen, there's just not a lot of experience behind Thatcher Demko, who's coming off an injury last year. I think they'll figure it out and at least be in the playoff hunt, but that chemistry and offensive production from last year are just going to be hard to reproduce. Time for the final 3, and at number 3, I put Seattle. A gamble, I know, but the Kraken are in a unique situation. And I know I already talked about their offseason moves in a different video, but I'm buying into the hype around these new additions. Seattle is now one of the only teams in the league to have 2 defensemen who are proven to be massive offensive threats. A lot of popular defensemen now are guys who can jump up and score. For Seattle, Vince Dunn was their guy when they made the playoffs 2 years ago. Now, Brandon Montour, who they signed this offseason, has been Florida's guy for years. And he's joining a defense that finished 8th in goals against average last year. That was with an injured Vince Dunn too. Now the elephant in the room here is that this offense could not get right last year. 29th in goals per game average. But they had a drastic drop in shooting percentage. When they made the playoffs, their shooting percentage was 2nd best in the league. Last year, they dropped to 29th. You think they're going to stick around that area forever? Especially with additions like Chandler Stevenson, who put up 35 assists last year. That would have been tied for the 2nd most on the Kraken. And for what it's worth, new head coach Dan Bylsma has been really good in the regular season. He made the playoffs 6 years in a row with Pittsburgh. Struggled in Buffalo, but they were in a transition period. Just drafted Jack Eichel, moved off some older pieces. But overall, I think it's a rebound year for Seattle, and they're back in the playoffs come April. Number 2, give me the Los Angeles Kings. Look, the only reason you don't think of this team as a Stanley Cup contender is because they keep playing Edmonton in the first round of the playoffs. But look at them on paper. Tied for 16th in goals per game last year. But they had 5 forwards with at least 20 goals. And guys like Phillip Danault and Pierre-Luc Dubois were not far from that mark. And here's something. This team had only 3 forwards finish the regular season with a negative plus-minus. In other words, they don't make many mistakes. Now they add Warren Foegele, another 20-goal player. He had 20 goals and 21 assists with Edmonton last year. He also played in all 82 regular season games. So they're a much stronger offense than you'd anticipate. And defensively, they were great. 3rd in goals against average, 29th in total shots against, and 2nd in penalty kill percentage. They lost Matt Roy, and Drew Doughty is injured, but they added Kyle Burrows, Joel Edmondson, and Caleb Jones. There's real depth to this already stout defense. Also, Jim Hiller was the interim head coach last year, now the permanent head coach. He made this team a home ice menace. From February till the end of the regular season, they went 14-3-1 on home ice. And I know the goalie change is scary. You might have some reservations about Darcy Kemper, but remember, he had no offensive support in Washington. So every little mistake got emphasized because the Capitals couldn't support him and score. The Drew Doughty injury really hurts, but I do think LA has what it takes to overcome it. And I think the Kings are right back to the postseason. But this year is a revenge tour for Edmonton, and I think the Oilers win the Pacific Division. This offense was 4th best in the league last year, and I think there's a good chance it's better this year. Obviously, you've still got the top line, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman, who combined for 127 goals last year. But now you add Jeff Skinner, who's averaged 30 goals the past 3 seasons. Victor Arvidsson, who had 15 points in 18 games last year. Before that, he had back-to-back seasons of at least 20 goals. Plus, you'll get a full season out of Adam Henrique, who's averaging about 20 goals per season on his career. Defensively, Edmonton lost some good players, but they're still looking good for this year. Evan Bouchard had the 5th most goals among defensemen and 4th most points. Matthias Ekholm had 11 goals, which was a career high. And new defensemen like Troy Stetcher and Joshua Brown already have chemistry built up from their time in Arizona. Pair that with a solid young starter in net in Stuart Skinner, and add in depth thanks to Calvin Pickard. Last year was his best NHL season in 8 years. I know Edmonton ended up losing a lot more people than expected this offseason, but I think they did a good job of re-signing players and filling in the gaps. They were Western Conference champions last year, and they are once again set up for success this year. And that's going to be it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like our content, be sure to scroll down below and click the like button on this video. While you're down there, be sure to also click the subscribe button to get notified of future uploads to this very channel. Also, be sure to check out our official website. That's phantomsportsindustries.com. Once again, my name's been Joe Soisson, and from the rest of Phantom Sports Industries, we hope to see more of you next time.